Welcome back to our special one-hour presentation on wilderness here on the county seat. Now, so far we've talked about wilderness, how it is perceived, and what its impacts are. We've also talked about how wilderness is defined and how it actually is designated. But right now we would like to talk about new land designations and how they have expanded and they have changed what the definition of wilderness is and what it's designed to protect.
The Wilderness Act of 1964 originally did not include any lands supervised by the Bureau of Land Management. At that time, those areas were designed to be eventually sold, shifting them from federal ownership to either private ownership or state ownership. In 1976, the Federal Land Policy and Management Act, known as FLPMA, changed how the federal government managed public lands. From that time forward, the mindset of sale and disposal changed to retention and management. A point of contention among many Western county and state leaders is that under the Land Policy Act of '76, land use planning by the Bureau of Land Management is supposed to be consistent with state and local land planning. However, many Utah leaders have found that their plans were pushed aside and altered seemingly from one election cycle to the next.
In effect, FLPMA said, we're going to quit disposing of these lands, but we promise not to manage these lands in a way that would be contrary to the management issues and policies of states and local governments. That was the consistency requirement. And that's the way Congress bought off on it. Because the notion would be that, well, even though the United States is going to retain title, the states and the counties would still retain regulatory authority. Just like you own your house, yet your house is subject to planning and zoning requirements of a city or a county where you live. Well, in the same sense, federal lands are like any other lands. The property owner is subject to regulatory oversight. And that's the county's big complaint nowadays, is that regulatory oversight has been eroded. That promise of FLPMA has been slowly taken away.
So, what went wrong? Utah State Representative Mike Noel worked for the Bureau of Land Management for many years before he became a state legislator. And from his perspective, he contends that FLPMA changed the BLM.
You know, I started with the BLM prior to the Federal Land Policy Management Act. I started before it was passed. So essentially what it was the grazing agency and lands agency was in the process of disposing of the public lands and selling them. And this compact that was agreed to with, or this agreement in Washington, D.C. with the Sagebrush Rebellion and the Federal Land Policy Management Act was a multiple use concept. And one of the key factors of that is that the food and fiber and resources on these public lands should be developed and used to benefit all the citizens of this great country. That's right in the act right there. And it started out since '76 and into the '80s, and that thing changed. And what it changed to was more of a non-multiple use. So it changed. I didn't leave the BLM, it left me because they changed their agreements and they changed the things that they promised the people of the sovereign state of Utah, that we would be able to develop these resources, that we would have access to these lands, that if we needed to sell something off to management, we could do it, but we would manage these lands mainly for the benefit of the people of the state along with the people of the nation. So I just said, hey, this is not right. You guys are on the wrong track here. And it's gotten worse ever since.
Whether or not government policies concerning wilderness have gotten worse is one of the key components of the debate, regardless of what side you're on. Now, that debate extends to lands that are managed as if they are wilderness, but they are not legally wilderness. When we come back, we will take a look at these lands in depth and find out how they add up to part of the wilderness picture.
Almost 45% of the oil produced in Utah, 7.8 million barrels, comes from Duchesne County. That oil feeds our state economy, provides job growth, and supports local business. Here in Duchesne County, we're working to make Utah an economic, cultural, and technological leader. Whether you're here for business or pleasure, Duchesne County will welcome you with open arms and invite you to explore all the beauty of the Uinta Mountains. Duchesne County, close enough for business, far enough to get away.
The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration. SITLA manages 3.5 million acres of Utah lands with the express purpose of furthering the education of Utah students while promoting local industry, oil and gas, even residential development, all at the same time. Through the careful use of trust lands, we distributed more than $22 million to Utah schools last year. The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration, building the state's permanent school fund.
Native Americans called it the land of the sleeping rainbow. It's a place of unparalleled enchantment, where history, splendor, and industry meet. We call it Sevier County. Experience the Paiute Trail by ATV. Explore 7 national parks, all within a few hours' drive. Gaze down at the world from an entirely new perspective. Join us in Sevier County and discover real Utah. Come, explore the Paiute Trail and beyond.
Take a look, take a glimpse, take a peek. You'll be surprised by what you find. Check us out at DeseretPComplex.com. Our phone number is 435-843-4020. Adventure, beauty, excitement. Tooele County Parks and Recreation, bringing communities together.